Johnny, we are at the LA Memorial Coliseum. This is one of the best Penn State games I have ever seen. They've been in a lot of good games. The problem is they've lost a lot of good games.
Yeah.
The way that they won this game against a desperate team in overtime, you can't say enough, I think, about the trip and the effort. They did not give up, down 2 touchdowns at halftime. Everything was working against them. Turnovers, Drew Allen threw some turnovers. He also engineered maybe the drive of his young career to get the game, get them back in the game. There's just so many ways we can go, but I can't say enough good things about how Penn State played when they had to make a play.
Absolutely. Resilience, Bob. Resilience. I mean, like you mentioned, down 14 at half, 20-6. Come back out, firing in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Defense played well, only gave up that field goal in the third quarter after the Drew Aller's second interception, and he bounces back from that second interception.
Yeah.
Like you said, probably the drive of his young career so far. 9 plays, 75 yards. When they needed it, when they needed a touchdown to tie the game and ultimately send it to overtime, he delivered 2 fourth-down conversions to Julian Fleming, who talk about resilience and bouncing back. Julian had a drop earlier in the day. He was called for the offensive pass interference that negated Tyler Warren's opening drive touchdown. And Julian Fleming, the transfer from Ohio State, who hasn't done a whole lot in the passing game so far since coming in this year. 2 crucial fourth-down catches for this team. Ultimately get it to overtime. And Ryan Barker, the walk-on lefty, takes over for Sanders.
He's got stones. He's got stones.
He put him to sleep.
He did.
He put him to sleep. I mean, he makes 4 field goals today. They stall out in the red zone a good bit. You don't want that. But, he converts those. And then he makes the biggest kick of his life, the biggest kick of Penn State's season so far. The defense helps Penn State get him to that point. Deny Dennis Sutton gets a TFL. Abdul Carter pressures him on 3rd down, forces a Miller Moss early throw. There were obvious mistakes throughout this entire afternoon. But the way that they were able to come together late when it mattered most is impressive.
And I think we can acknowledge that, Penn State's defense was up against it for a lot of this game. But I'll tell you what, that USC offense, in terms of balance with that running back Woody Marks and with Lincoln Riley calling plays in those receivers, I have no earthly idea how they're 3-3. Honestly, that's a good team that was. I mean, they played. That was their A game. Penn State had to take it. But what stuck out to me was the last drive in regulation. Jalen Reed came up with that interception, or the game could very well be over. And then USC gets the ball first in overtime, and they can't do anything.
No.
Denied Dennis Sutton gets the TFL, but I thought the cornerbacks played, very, very well against a good wide receiver group. And it really does. I guess, Johnny, it really doesn't matter, like the first 57 minutes, if they're not your best 57 minutes, because if you're really good in the final 3 and in overtime, I mean, that's why they're 6-0.
Yeah, I'm sure James Franklin, the coaching staff, the players watching on the sidelines, I'm sure all the fans who were here would have liked maybe a little easier on the hard day than what they had here. We got another, another vehicle coming through, of course. By the way, mentioning the fans here, it was a really big Penn State crowd.
It was.
Not that I was surprised necessarily, but they all wore white. They were loud. It was a really cool scene, when Ryan Barker hits the walk-off field goal, and the Penn State players storm the field, and you look around, you look down from the press box, you see everyone freaking out. It felt like a big game, even though this USC team was 3-2 coming in. It felt like a really big game.
Johnny, I was on a video with you a couple of weeks ago, and I called Tyler Warren Tyler Witten, and I don't even think that does him justice anymore. He is
Tony Gonzalez,
one of the most unique Penn State players I've ever seen. What I like most about him is he just goes about his business, and every time he runs a route, he manages to get himself not open, but wide open. He doesn't drop the ball. He blocks in the running game. The moment is never too big for this guy. He's unflappable. I mean, he threw a pass. He ran for I think it was a 4th down run. And I mean, he's just an incredible player. And I hope Penn State fans realize, they've had a lot of really, really good tight ends, not only during the James Franklin era, but in their history. First round picks, going back into the 60s when Joe Paterno coached the team. But the numbers are the numbers. There's never been a guy at Penn State quite like Tyler Warren.
No, 17 catches. That is a single game program best. Definitely tops for a tight end, beating the mark that he set last month against Bowling
Bowling
Green. Over 200 yards receiving.
Trampled it. He just trampled
he blew through it. I think I saw online that it's the second most catches by a tight end in a game in FBS history. I think that's accurate. And even if it's not, I mean, what he did out there was truly like a legendary performance, like an all-time performance from Tyler Warren. And he's just remarkable, man. He is absolutely remarkable. And Penn State and Drew Aller are lucky that he decided not to go to the NFL draft after last season.
Not only that, Penn State, if they ever need one, they have a tremendous backup center now.
Yeah.
That trick play, I asked Jim
Incredible.
Shelton about it. He snapped the ball. He was the guy furthest to the left after like the shift. I said, "What do you call that?" He kind of looked at me. He goes, "Tool." And he goes, I said, "Are you sure?" He goes, "Yeah, it's called tool." I'm not sure it's called tool. I think in Andy Kolnicki's vernacular, I'm pretty sure it's a little bit more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But the catch he made while being interfered with, I mean, like this is like the stuff of legend. It really is. I mean, you talk about legendary performances at any position at Penn State. This game, top 3. I don't even know what would beat it.
Yeah, and props to Andy Kolnicki, the offensive coordinator. Drew Aller said when we were talking to him after the game, he said that Andy wanted to empty the clip in terms of the playbook.
It's empty.
Yeah, it's empty. They use every trick they got. Maybe not every trick, but they used a lot of them, and it was to great effect. I mean, not just with Tyler Warren, but across the offense. It was really impressive.
You want to talk signature wins in 11 years for James Franklin? This might be it.
It's up there. It's
close.
I mean,
it's close. The Big Ten championship game's up there. You know, but like I said, a lot of the best games he's been in, they haven't really gone his way. I just think this is really
Ohio State upset in 2016.
Yeah. But I mean, even this one, I think even on the road, you know what I mean? They didn't have the crowd behind them. This one's up there.
But you also know too that this was one of their toughest tests remaining this year. They get a bye week now at Wisconsin, Ohio State at home, and then Washington at home. Washington just got their clocks cleaned by Iowa today. I mean, this was maybe the second hardest game on their schedule, and they made it out unscathed, undefeated, unbeaten, 6-0. It's hard to be better than that right now.
The path is starting to clear for you know what. I'm not going to say the words, but it's starting to clear, Johnny.
Absolutely.